third graders. Today we're going to move on to talking about a special kind of polygon. Last lesson we talked about polygons, all different kinds of polygons, and you had to kind of just notice that polygon's name changes depending on how many sides, how many angles it has, right? Today we're going to focus only on triangles. Triangles have 3 sides, 3 angles, but not all triangles are the same. And there are different names for different kinds of triangles, even though they all have 3 sides and 3 angles, okay? Before we start, your book is going to be asking you to measure things to the 1/4 inch as far as sides of a triangle. So I'm going to explain what that is, because we need to kind of go back to our fraction thinking in order to know how to do that. So I'm going to draw kind of a piece of a ruler here and pretend that we have an inch in here. So let's say this is where 1 inch is, and this is where 2 inches is. Okay, and the ruler's broken on either side. Okay, so this would have been where 0 inches would have been, right? So each piece is an inch. If it's quarters, if you have quarters, then you've broken it into fourths. Remember, qua means 4. So that is like an inch being broken into, I'm just going to show these in half lines so they show up better, into 4 pieces, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. This would be this, the same thing. Each inch, and this is the way a ruler works, each inch is broken into quarters, right? So if something is only this long, then it's half of an inch, or 2/4. If something is this long, it's 3/4. This would be 1/4 of an inch. This is 2/4 of an inch. This is 3/4 of an inch. Once you hit 4/4, then you have a whole inch. So if I was measuring something like, let's say my pen or my pencil was this long, right? I would say that the closest 1/4 inch that my pencil is 3/4, right? If something, if I was going to use this inch to do my measuring, let's say I have a paper clip, and the paper clip is that big. Now that paper clip is only 1/4 of an inch. It's only this big. It's only as big as this space, so it's only 1/4 or 1/4, because it would fit right here. Okay? So we're going to have to use that. You're going to have to use that when you measure from some edges of triangles today, okay, in your book. So I want you to notice something. I'm going to draw some triangles. We're going to go back to triangles now. And I'm going to draw a triangle using my angle here. Okay. Remember, triangles are going to have 3 sides and 3 angles. The angles are the corners, basically. The angles are where 2 sides join. In order to be a polygon, it has to be closed. I can't have any area where, there's an opening. And I need straight sides. That's what I have. I have a triangle. It's a polygon, but it's a special polygon. It's a triangle. This corner right here, my right angle fit in there. Right? That's a right angle. This angle, do you think that it is bigger than a right angle or smaller than a right angle? This right here. Is that bigger or smaller than this? Smaller would be closed more, bigger would be open wider. Okay. If I put my right angle there, I can tell it's smaller. I would have to take this and push it over. It's smaller than a right angle. This angle too, smaller than a right angle. So I have 2 angles that are smaller than a right angle. And then I have 1 right angle, all right? So this is a right angle, right? I'm going to write the word angle. This kind of angle is called acute. way I remember that is the word cute means small. It's smaller than a right angle. Any angle smaller than a right angle is an acute angle. Right? And this one is an acute angle. Well, isn't it? It's so cute. Acute angle. Right? Now, this actually has a name, and it's called a right triangle because it has a right angle in it. It's impossible for a triangle to have two right angles because if this angle was out like this, we'd have to have another side to close it. You can only, on a triangle, you can only have one right angle. Okay? The other two have to be acute. Now, another way to look at angles is to look at their sides. I mean, to look at triangles is to look at their sides to decide what kind of triangle they are, or, you know, to just notice their features. I could have a triangle that has, see if I can do this right. All right. I can have a triangle whose sides are all the same size. It's this size, this size, this size. They're all this long. None of them are right angles. That's not. None of them are a perfect square corner. Okay, they are all acute. They have 3 acute angles. And all the sides are the same size. This is called an equilateral triangle, which basically means equilateral means equal sides, equal lines. Okay? So, another kind of triangle might have it might have two sides that are the same, but one side that's much longer. If you have two sides that are the same, and one side is much longer than that, this angle has to be bigger than 90 degrees. If I look at that, yes, this angle is bigger than 90 degrees. Quite a bit bigger, right? This angle is smaller. This angle is smaller. When you have, so you have an acute angle here. You have an acute angle here. They're so adorable. They're so cute. No right angles. This kind of angle is called obtuse. And somehow that sounds big. Obtuse. It's huge, right? An obtuse angle is bigger than a right angle. All right? Now these words you don't have to remember right now, but you do have to realize that an angle is either a right angle, less than a right angle, or greater than a right angle. Okay? And we can tell right here, this is bigger than a right angle, because when I put my right angle here, in order for it to be a right angle, it would have had to stop right here. Instead, it kept going. It's bigger than a right angle. Okay? So, you can also have you can have all acute angles and have every line a different size. You can have 2 sides the same. You can have 3 sides the same. You could have all the angles the same. You could have 2 of the angles the same. All of these are different kinds of triangles. And in your book, you're going to have to determine how to, you're going to have to, in some cases, measure some sides on a triangle and determine if all the sides are the same, or if 2 of the sides are the same, or if none of the sides are the same. And then you're going to have to look at the angles and determine if all the angles are acute angles, or if 2 of the angles are the same. Okay, so which means the best way to figure this out, if you have what I'd like you to do when you have to measure angles and decide if they're greater or less than a right angle, is to find something that has a square corner. It can be a piece of paper. I'm going to grab a piece of paper. It could be just the corner of a piece of paper. And you take that piece of paper and you hold it into the corner to see if it's smaller or greater. So in this case, when I hold this into this corner, I can tell that my angle goes here. It is smaller than this right angle. This corner, smaller than a right angle. This corner is perfectly a right angle. So in this triangle, I have a right angle. Remember they put the little box there to symbolize it? And then I have two acute angles, two angles that are smaller than a right angle. Okay? If my angle were bigger than a right angle, then when I put my paper in there, I have all this extra space it's not taking up, and that angle is bigger than a right angle. Okay? So when you get to the point where you're measuring angles, you're going to need to use something with a square corner. When you get to the part where you have to measure to the 1/4 inch, you're going to have to measure, see how many, you have to look at an inch, and on your ruler, where it has the 1, it should be broken into fourths, you'll see it, and you actually hold that ruler to that side and see how many fourths it's closest to. Which line is it closest to? It's either going to be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, or a whole inch, right? Which is 4/4. Those are fourths. Fourths are quarters. So this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Okay, you can also call that 1/2 if you want to, right? So you are on page 847, I believe, and let me know if you have any questions. See ya. Bye.